Welcome back. Vice President of the United States of America. An impressive position for sure, but for the people who have served, their roles aren't always as well known as, of course, the number one. But the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum changing that with its new exhibit called A Heartbeat Away, the American Vice-Presidency. Welcome to Brooke Clement and Dr. Morel Lukey from the museum to tell us more about this brand new exhibit. Ladies, thanks so much for being here.
Yes, of course.
All right, so tell us about the inspiration behind this and why you brought it to GR.
Well, we knew we wanted to do an exhibit to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Gerald Ford's vice presidency. So he was nominated to be vice president in October 73 and became vice president in December 73. So we knew we wanted to do an exhibit celebrating his vice presidency. But as I started doing research and brainstorming for this exhibit, it really became apparent to me that people don't really think about the vice presidency often. So it was really important to me to do an exhibit that explored the entire history of that office from the nation's founding to the present, and looking at how it's changed over time, how the role of the vice president has developed and grown, and also paying special attention to vice presidents like Ford, who suddenly became president in unexpected circumstances.
Right, because he wasn't the only one who then became president. Like, you know, that wasn't what he was necessarily signing up for. I guess it is, but not quite. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So talk about building an exhibit like this and curating all of these artifacts, and what goes into doing something like this.
Well, it starts out with a lot of research, reading a lot of books, looking into a lot of archival documents and things like that. And then for me, the curator, the fun part is picking what artifacts we're going to use in the exhibit. So I was really excited to see the artifacts that we had in our own collection, not just from Gerald Ford, but from other vice presidents like Teddy Roosevelt, Hannibal Hamlin, Abraham Lincoln's first vice president. But then we also borrowed a lot of artifacts from other presidential libraries, from universities, from museums. So we have this really exciting array of different artifacts from vice presidents ranging from Lyndon Johnson to Richard Nixon to modern vice presidents like George H.W. Bush and Al Gore. So we really have a really exciting range of artifacts that I'm excited to share with the visitors.
Wonderful. And how exciting is it for you guys to be able to unveil a new exhibit?
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's something that was in-house, that's something that Morel curated from, birth to finish, and it was really, it's just a beautiful exhibit, and I think that everyone will really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it is something, to think about, but as you rattle off all these names, it's like so many of them became president and ended up in a role that they were kind of forced into often, if not elected. Mm-hmm. But talk about some of the fun facts, some of the things that you learned, and some of the really cool artifacts that people can check out.
Yeah, well, as the person who picked the artifacts, it's really hard. It's really hard for me to pick a favorite. They change every day. One standout item that I continue to just really enjoy because I think it's unexpected, and it's one of those things that's kind of like, why is that here? As you're walking through the exhibit, we have Hubert Humphrey's cowboy boots on loan to us from the Minnesota Historical Society. And I really love them. One, just they're cowboy boots, they're fun, but also I think they really illustrate that kind of tense relationship between the president and the vice president. So Humphrey was Lyndon Johnson's vice president. And even though Johnson himself had been JFK's vice president and really chafed in that role and kind of the lack of power in it, he kind of ended up doing the same thing to his own vice president and kind of, trying to make sure that he was really the one that was in charge, and Humphrey wasn't always kind of in the room and making those decisions. And I think the cowboy boots are a really great representation of that. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy.
That's really cool. That's so fun. And how much do you talk about the relationships between the vice presidents and their presidents? I mean, how big of a role does that play in this exhibit?
It's something that you can kind of see throughout the exhibit because that kind of personal relationship, or what kind of the president envisions his vice president will be doing, really does shape how much power that person will have in office. So you see kind of a growth in whether or not the vice president spends time in Washington, D.C., whether they have an office in first the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, and then Jimmy Carter's vice president, Walter Mondale, was the first vice president to even have an office in the White House, which is really extraordinary when you think about it. But you can again see kind of whether the two people got along, whether in the early years, the president didn't even necessarily play a large role in choosing who the vice president would be. It was kind of a matter of balancing the ticket rather than even whether or not they got along. So you really see how that role changes over time, which is really interesting.
I've already learned something from this exhibit, and I haven't even seen it yet. It's so exciting. So Brooke, talk about some of the other programming that you have going on that we can all get out and enjoy.
So we are going to be having a Vice Presidency conference coming up in September 8th and 9th. We're going to have a 2-day conference where we have some really great speakers coming in, panels that will explore for instance, the photography of vice presidents. So we have David Hume Kennerly, we have Robert McNeely, we have David Valdez, and we also have Lawrence Jackson will be joining us via Zoom. Lawrence Jackson is currently Vice President Harris's photographer. So it's really exciting to get a lot of these people in. And the next day we're going to have Richard Norton Smith, Kate Anderson Brower, Chris Whipple, and Dr. Lindsay Shervinsky. We're really excited that we're going to be exploring the vice presidency through this conference, and we want everybody to feel free to come down and join in.
I love that. I love that you bring so many different speakers, different perspectives to really add to what this exhibit is. Talk about when people can enjoy this, how long it's going to be here, what they need to know.
So the exhibit is open through it opened August 9th yesterday, and it is running through June 9th, 2024. So there's a fair amount of time that people can come to enjoy it.
Sure. How much time do you want to give yourself to go to explore this, would you say? Yeah, Mel's like all day
exactly.
I love that. I love that. Thank you both so much for being here and for all you do. I can't wait to go check this out. What a great experience. So August 9th through June 9th, 2024, lots of programming revolving around this brand new exhibit, A Heartbeat Away, the American Vice Presidency. You want to learn more, go to fordlibrarymuseum.gov.